Adventures in Electricity. Number 1. You better pedal harder, Johnny. GE Adventure Series. Prepared for General Electric Company, Pictorial Media Incorporated. Scientists have learned to tap the stored energy of the sun, to flash it thousands of miles in a fraction of a second, and to perform modern miracles that put to shame the fabled magic of the Arabian Nights. What is the strange and marvelous force? How do we control the monstrous power we unloose? The answers in this exciting tale of how magic is born and how it travels. The generation of electricity. GE Adventure Series. Prepared for General Electric Company, Pictorial Media Incorporated. In a great experimental laboratory, scientist Ed Powers throws a switch, and suddenly, there go 10 million volts of man-made lightning, Johnny. But lightning smashes things. That didn't do any damage at all. No, Johnny, you see, this is where we use artificial lightning and scaled models to test our safety devices for real buildings and electric power lines. Electricity as nature makes it in lightning can do terrible damage, but electricity as we make it in generators is man's most useful servant. Most useful because transmission wires carry tremendous power, hundreds of miles, deliver it instantly, exactly where you need it. I can see why that's important. Yes, Johnny, that is why electric transmission systems must be protected. All over America, people depend upon electricity, even way out on remote farms. Sure, Ed, but how is it carried so far? Well, it's this way. Back in 1886, long after Faraday discovered how to generate electricity, William Stanley established a local lighting system using the first commercially developed transformer. If we were any farther away, the power wouldn't reach us at all. We get only part that is generated now. To get these lights, we had to build a generating plant right in the neighborhood. Even then, it was possible to use electricity only near the generating plant. Then, in 1894, if we use a transformer to raise the voltage, we can deliver electric current all the way to Buffalo. Why, that's 26 miles from Niagara Falls. Wonderful. That was the first long-distance commercial power line. Now, they cover the country. Many of them, hundreds of miles long. There's one up ahead of us. Oh, sure, I've seen lots of those lines. Hey, you mentioned a transformer. How does that work? Well, a transformer. Look, we're heading into a storm. That's real lightning. Wow, right into those wires. Just one, Johnny, the top wire. One of those safety devices I was talking about. Lightning is attracted to the highest object that will conduct electricity. So, we protect our transmission lines by putting an extra wire above them. Then, when lightning strikes, it is led harmlessly to the ground through the steel tower or a ground wire. It's getting dark, Johnny. You can hardly see that house over there. And windy, too. Ed, look out! That tree! Whew! That was close. And how? Let's hurry. It's starting to rain. We better put up the top and leave the car here. Then we'll find shelter in the house we just saw. Gee, it's pouring. We made it just in time. I hear someone coming, Ed.
Don't like getting wet, eh? Well, don't stand there a-gaping like a couple codfish. Come on in.
Thanks.
Electric lights just blinked out. first time in 30 years.
Gosh, you've lived here 30 years?
Nigh on 70. I was born here.
Gosh, it's like ancient history. Excuse me. 70 years is a long time. What's the matter, Johnny? Chilly? Kind of. And it's spooky in here, too. Wish we had an electric heater and maybe a radio. They wouldn't do us much good without electricity.
That's right. I keep forgetting I'm so used to just touching a switch and getting light and heat and a good program. You're spoiled, young feller.
No, he's just used to the convenience of electricity. Nothing wrong with that. Unexpectedly, someone else caught in the storm?
Sounds like they're in a mighty big hurry, too. Jehoshaphat, this place is getting right popular.
Well, we don't have much choice. This man needs an operation at once. We were on our way to the hospital when we found a tree across the road. So we had to come here. We had to do something quick. Yes, I'm afraid I'll have to operate here, but I can't do it in this poor light.
Reckon you have to, though. There's nothing else to do.
But there must be something. Oh, please hurry. Gee, Ed, couldn't we fix those wires that were broken when the tree fell across the road? No, Johnny, handling a hot wire without special tools and equipment is too dangerous. That job is for the power company. And they'll have a repair crew here in no time.
But it might be too late to get this line fixed.
I've got it, Doctor. You can get your patient ready now. We'll have an electric light for you in 10 minutes. Come on, Johnny. Here's where we make real use of that spotlight you talked me into buying. Get my tools from the trunk, Johnny. Ah, now I know what you're up to. Here's the spotlight. Now to get the battery. But how long will this battery last, Ed? Hours. Plenty long enough for the doctor to complete his operation. This is a lifesaver. While Ed and Johnny work, the storm gathers strength and fury every moment. Some miles south, rain-swollen streams sweep over their banks. Deprived of electricity, the activity of the small town almost stops. Even the factory is stopped. This is a ghostly old town without electricity. Any place is, Bud. We couldn't get along without it. Meanwhile, unaware of the widespread devastation the storm is causing, Ed and Johnny continue their race against time. There, that'll do it until the power goes on. Golly, it works! Good, I can start immediately, but we'll need ice packs all night long, and the refrigerator requires regular house current. I think you can depend upon the power company. As they await the outcome of the doctor's fight to save a life, I owe a lot to you, both of you. Aw, shucks, I didn't do anything. That spotlight and battery was Ed's idea. But you helped, Johnny. Of course you helped. If not for you, it might have been too late. Right, Johnny. Every second counted. Goodness, you two know a lot about electricity, don't you? Not me. Ed is the expert. Johnny's being modest. He knows all about how electricity is generated. Tell her, Johnny. Well, it's simple. When you spin a coil of wire with your fingers between the ends of a magnet, you get an electric current in the wire. Not much, of course, but enough to register on a sensitive meter. You see, in the wire are billions of tiny electrons, which are always shifting around. Gee, it's peaceful in here. But when a magnet is moved near them, the electrons start hurrying in the same direction, creating an electric current. Look out, fellows, here comes a magnet. A large generator with its powerful magnets creates enough power for a large city. It's as simple as all that. My, it does sound simple when you tell it, but it's wonderful too. Suddenly, oh, at last! The operation is over and a success. All we need now is a regular house current to make ice in the refrigerator. Guess you won't have to wait long, Doctor. Look. Sure enough, the power company's crewmen are on the job, repairing the broken wires. Hooray! But Ed, what about transformers? What do they do? You started to tell me about 5 times. Okay, Johnny, here goes. Remember I told you that long-distance transmission of electricity wasn't possible until transformers were developed? You see, high voltage is necessary for efficient long-distance transmission, but low voltage is safer and better for home use. I get it. Then transformers transform voltage, raise and lower it. Right. That transformer down there, for instance, changes the pressure from 2,400 to 240 or 120 volts for household use. Gee, how does it work? Is it very complicated? Not very, Johnny. Look, I'll show you. I'll make a sketch of a simple transformer. Basically, a transformer consists of an iron core, either circular or square, and 2 pieces of wire wound around it. To cut the voltage in half, you put half as many windings on one side as the other, say 5 to 10. 240 volts going in, 120 volts coming out. To double the voltage, you would just reverse the connections, put the larger number of windings on the other side. 120 volts going in, 240 volts coming out. Then, to increase the pressure 10 times, you'd just put 10 times as many windings on one side as the other. Say, 200 to 20. I get it. Look, the lights are on. Good. Now the patient can have ice packs as long as they're needed. Sorry to interrupt the beginning of a beautiful friendship, Johnny, but the highway patrol is clearing the road. And so, farewell. Thanks so much for your help. Shucks, I wish we didn't have to go.
By cracky, the place would be lonely without you.
This is good timing. As soon as we get the battery and spotlight hooked up, we can be on our way. We might as well put the car top down too, Ed. The storm's over. Right. And on the way home, I'll show you how electricity is carried from the generating station to your reading lamp. Now we're all set. Let's go. And so, as they drive along, this is a typical setup. Here, electricity is generated at 13,800 volts, and transformers step up the voltage to 69,000 for long-distance transmission. And at this transmission substation, the power is stepped down to 13,800 volts. And here, the power is cut to 2,400 volts, still sufficient for smaller industrial companies. That transformer ahead is the one which steps down the voltage for use in homes and stores. And right here is in front of our own house. Right. All that distance in a fraction of a second, as fast as lightning. And the repair crew is almost as fast. Why, I'll bet the lines are already back in operation everywhere. Yes, wherever the violence of the storm was felt, emergency repair squads have rushed in. This break is fixed. Where do we go next? With power restored, life returns to the small town. Gosh, I never realized how important it is to get electricity to people. Yes, sometimes it seems just a convenience, but often it's a matter of life or death. And what a lot of hard work there is behind something that looks so easy. Isn't that always true, Johnny? General Electric, Schenectady, New York. An important part of the story of electricity is how our electricity is generated. As you can see from this graph, coal, natural gas, and nuclear account for more than 80% of all of the U.S. electricity generated, while renewables account for the remainder.